Hey guys, Cameron with CVM Reviews here, and the 2010s are coming to a close. This was a huge decade for comic book movies, and I'm going through each single year of the decade talking about the comic book movies that came out. We are now on 2012, and this is a huge one, so you definitely don't want to miss it. Before I get into 2012, I just want to thank you for clicking on the video. It means a whole lot to me. If you're a fan of this sort of thing or comic book movie reviews, click on that subscribe button and make sure that you click that notification bell so you'll know as soon as anything gets uploaded. So 2012 actually didn't have a whole lot of movies that were released in the year, but it did have quite a few huge releases. Before I talk about the huge ones, let me talk about the ones that were kind of standard. You had some animated releases. One of them was Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, Volume 1. This was an animated telling of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, which came out back in the late 80s. But this was only half of the story. This told of the story where Batman came back before the Joker comes back. And it was really well done. I wish that it was released immediately as a full complete thing, but we actually had to wait until the next year before we got the complete story. This had two other animated releases from DC, Superman vs. the Elite and Justice League Doom. Me personally, I was a huge fan of Justice League Doom because it was a retelling of the Tower of Babel story where Ra's al Ghul steals the contingency plans Batman has against the Justice League and uses it against the entire League. I don't know if I like the Tower of Babel better or if I like Justice League Doom better, but they both have their merits and I appreciate them for what they had. So those were pretty good, but before we get into the ones that were better than that, I gotta tell you about the stinker of 2012. And this stinker rode out like a bat out of hell. This was Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. This was directed by two people, in fact, Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor, and Nicolas Cage returned as Ghost Rider, but really nobody else came back, and it's apparent to see why. This movie was a snooze fest. It really didn't have anything that it added to the lore of the character. There were a couple of fun graphic shots, but overall, this was an embarrassment, and it was kind of where Nicolas Cage started becoming a parody. Now, he does come back in a couple of other movies on down the years that are a little bit redeeming, but this one killed the Ghost Rider franchise as far as movies were concerned. We haven't seen Ghost Rider again in movie form. The next time we see him was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is a TV show. But yeah, do not open this near an open flame.
What if you have to pee while you're on fire?
Oh, that's awesome.
But let's talk about the top 3 comic book movies of 2012. And the first one coming in at the number 3 spot was Dredd. Dredd was directed by Pete Travis, and it tells about Judge Dredd, who is on an assignment and is also training a rookie. There's a murder at the Peachtree Apartments, and he's got to go up all of the levels to figure out who's done this and bring them justice, because that's what the judges do. It starred Carl Urban, Olivia Thirlby, and Lena Headey, and it sounds like it could have been difficult to watch through. It sounds like it could have been uninteresting, but it was not. There's enough gunplay, fireplay, slow motion effects, but not too much slow motion effects to make this movie definitely worth your time.
I'm the law.
Coming in at the second spot, and it wasn't difficult for me, but I can understand why people may think that this would be their number 1 spot, but number 2 for me was The Dark Knight Rises. Christian Bale comes back and reprises the role as Batman / Bruce Wayne, as well as Michael Caine and Morgan Freeman and Gary Oldman, but we've got some newcomers with Tom Hardy as the villainous Bane and Anne Hathaway as Selina Kyle, who is or is not on the side of good. You'll just have to watch the movie and see for yourself. But it definitely is a worthy successor to The Dark Knight, even though it's not as good. It's great fun, and you get to see how Nolan puts the cherry on top of his Batman franchise. But as I said, this gets the silver medal. It does not come in gold. So what comes in as the gold medal for 2012? It's none other than Joss Whedon's The Avengers. This was the penultimate movie to close out phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Everybody, for the most part, that was in movies in phase 1 come into the Avengers, like Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., and Chris Hemsworth. You also get people who had smaller roles in previous movies come in for larger roles, like Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow and Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye. We get a completely new Hulk with Mark Ruffalo, and I'm so glad that he came on as opposed to Edward Norton in the previous Hulk movie. But Tom Hiddleston returns as Loki and puts on a star performance as the God of Mischief, and the Avengers have to finally come together to defeat this foe who threatens the Earth. I love this movie. In all honesty, for the most part, I love everything about this movie. It's one of my favorite comic book movies of all time, let alone of 2012. And this, if you're going to watch one comic book movie from this year, make it The Avengers. You will not regret it. So that is the comic book movie highs and lows of 2012. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comment section down below. Let me know if you think that Batman should have been number 1 and the Avengers is just Bush League. If you like this video, hit that like button. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Share this with your friends. And as always, this is Cameron with CBM Reviews. We'll see you next time.